Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Usually, in a company, when things are going well, which is profit comes in, the attitude, the friendship in the environment, in the business, tends to be a good one. The guys in charge are friendlier and more flexible, more smiling, more relaxed with the other ones that they are controlled by them. The same could be told in democracies and the countries where we supposedly live freely. If we do what they tell us to do, it tends to be everything like smiles and all that, and we're very friendly and so on, and say, hey, our guys that are in charge of us are good people. Well, when things go a little bit and hit the fan and it's not the situation becomes precarious, then you see their true face in the business and in real life. And what do? They start being aggressive, they start being rude, and they will probably start infringing some of your liberties and rights. So what do we have here? We have here an article that will exemplify exactly that, which is, the United States of America keeps saying countries are free, we should be for freedom, democracy. A country like Ukraine has its, sovereignty attacked and destroyed by the Russians. The country should be independent and sovereign and should do whatever, they do, as long as they do what we tell them. So you hear this thing. You see, Putin and the evil guys are isolated. Well, they're not isolated. It's 40 countries, let's say 50, that isolate the rest of the world. So actually, they're isolating themselves from the other ones. And when you say, well, it's 40 or, where I say, it's 40 or 50 countries isolating Russia or so on, it's not by their own sovereign desire and freedom. No. They are turned into that. Because if you don't do it, I'm going to do something to you. That's how it goes. You do it? No. Then I'm going to do something to you. I'm going to be, like that happens, I'm going to be threatening you, then I will be blackmailing you, and then I will do a little, attacks on your morality, and then I will do a spontaneous uprising, and then I would probably come and take over. All right, so we have this thing here in Georgia, the country of Georgia. And Georgia dared, as an independent sovereign country, to show normality and independence, which is Georgia criticized for resuming direct flights to Russia. So a few days ago, Georgia decided, as an independent sovereign country that the United States likes to have in its club, decided that it's going to resume flights between Russia, the bad dude, and their free country. That means they can do whatever they want. They're sovereign, independent, right? Wrong. Why? Because they don't do what these guys are telling them to do. So instead of being nice and cuddling to Georgia, now Georgia is the bad country. Remember, it was bad when they tried to do the same thing as the Americans did with, foreign agent law. That Americans did it in 1929 or something, or 39, 1929 or 39, and the Russians did it in 2005 or something, but somehow is the Russian foreign agent law, is not the American foreign agent law. Anyway, let's go back to this. So who do you think is criticizing Georgia for being sovereign and independent and demanding that they continue to isolate because we tell them so? So you see this contradiction between we want them to be free and independent versus they're not doing what we're telling them. Therefore, we have to isolate that guy. We have to, and we tell you you have to. Well, you're not independent anymore. It doesn't mean you cannot criticize things, but when the criticize comes from the boss can smack you in the face. So let's see what's going on here in this article. Georgia faced a wave of criticism as it resumed direct flights to Russia by the world community, right? No. Saturday, with both Ukraine and the European Union lambasting the country's decision, the small nation, which lies at the intersection, resumed flights on its flag carrier, Jordan Airways, after Moscow officials lifted a temporary flight ban last week. Russians are bad. We are good, right? The ban had been in place since 2019, and the Associated Press reported that Russian President Vladimir Putin also ended visa requirements for Georgian nationals. There was another problem. So this is the Russian flights were also seen flying in Georgia's capital, Tbilisi, for the first time on Friday. So we have problems here with the European Unions, and I'm suspecting other ones too as well, that have a problem with this independence that Georgia displayed. And remember, this would not only be Ukraine and the European Union. This would be the United States of America as well. These are the guys who say that, hey, the world isolates Putin. Well, why don't you let them pick? When they pick the wrong way, they're criticized and sanctioned and all that. When they pick the right way, oh, see, we isolated the world community. There's no such a thing. If the world community is Australia, Japan, South Korea, how do you call it, New Zealand, some European countries, of course, Canada and the United States of America, yes, then you have the world community. But sorry to break the news, there are 193 countries on this world community, and all these that I mentioned are no more than 50 countries. So that's actually a quarter of the world community that somehow values more than the rest. And I counted it as a full country, like a full European Union and all that. But in the European Union, a lot of countries are dragged along because they know they have to follow. They wouldn't isolate Russia, but they have to. Why? Because they're part of certain kind of organizations, and the boss right now doesn't get a lot of profit. So therefore, is going to show his teeth. Well, that's my interpretation of all this, but just pay attention. This is based on a pattern. Like, for instance, if Hungary doesn't follow along and doesn't, say what or do what the European Union and America says, again, criticized, they're called names and all that. But on the other hand, they are a sovereign country and they're independent. They're good to go. They're in Europe. They have European values, not because they say what the European values are, not the Hungarians who are part of Europe. It's very strange, I mean, not strange. It's hypocritical. That's what it is. And hypocritical and outright unjust. So just pay attention when you see a country deciding to be really free and independent and have its own, how should I put it straight, international foreign policy. Immediately this guy is going to say, no, you got the wrong ideas. Well, why don't you let me have my wrong ideas? Otherwise, I'm not free. Am I? Like in a society, no, you can't say that, but you have a freedom of speech. And who's saying that I can't say that and I can't say that? You? Who appointed you as being the moralist here, being in charge of the freedom of speech? You see, United States points finger and tells and says, hey, you're not good, or European Union or Canada, that Weasel Trudeau is such a nuisance. Oh my God. Anyway, you're in bad shape in Canada. I know that. Worse than these guys here. And I'm not criticizing the United States as being the worst place, but it's getting down. That's what bothers me. Instead of going up and our civilization getting better and better, it's going down and down and down, goes in the dust. That's what it is. And I have some people who with very low IQ, I think, or maybe just very, very much the pathos took over the logos, who tell me, for instance, hey, why don't you move to Russia? Why do you criticize the West if you don't like it so much? Well, I'm sorry, but my question would be, if your house is messy, are you not supposed to notice it? If it's messy, and I think you would agree that the United States has some mess in it, and the Western countries, otherwise you would say they're perfect. So in order to improve and clean up shit, you have to first to acknowledge it, and then work and plan on how to clean it. Say it loud, I'm proud, all right? So the same here, like James Brown. So you have to acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, and if we're acknowledging, hey, I think we need to, vacuum. Oh my God, you're against our house. Why don't you move to a hotel? Well, it's dirty. I need to vacuum. What am I supposed to do? Don't observe it. Don't notice it. Don't say it. Yes, because it's perfect. Well, that's idiotic. So for those people who say that or ever say that or say that to you, tell them, okay, when my house is dirty, what am I supposed to do? Not clean it? And if I say it's dirty and I have to clean it, or I don't know, wash the windows or something, that means I'm anti my house? No, I make it better, unless you think it's perfect, which is not. So, all right, going somewhere to go where? To go to Russia, and over there I'm going to start criticizing the Russians for saying we're good, and actually they're not as good as they say, as these guys. I will do the same thing. If you are for progress, you have to see what's wrong, what's not working right, according to not only to how you see things, to what they say. Freedom of speech, really? Freedom of expression, really? The right to bear arm and carry, really? Look at those things. They're all infringed. And I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm supposed to say, yeah, if you say something, you go over there. Why should I go over there? And who says you're in charge here? You keeping your mouth shut for something that is dirty and not saying anything is like, see, someone raping someone, because that's the easiest way to make an analogy. Someone raping someone and not supposed to say it because you're going to be, hateful towards the aggressor or something, or what? Not supposed to call it as it is? How are we going to stop that? How are we going to change it if you don't call it out? And you are guilty of not calling it out. To be kind. Yeah, being kind but not truthful, we're going to create problems. So yeah, speak up and speak out. And ignore these weasels. Because if you don't think that's a war over there, it is. Because these guys will put you in things. Anyway, euphemistically. Thank you, or metaphorically. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Georgia cannot be independent, obviously. It has to do what these guys are telling them to do. So then they can say, see, Georgia, another country that isolated Russia. Why? Because you didn't feel like allowing them to be sovereign? Yeah. Hypocrisy, man. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.